Oh, yes. Sorry about that. Cameraman's fired. Welcome into Pitchfork Lunch. I am Michael Caratanudo at Diablo00. Same bat time, same bat channels. I come to you Monday through Friday, ripping around Sun Devil Nation in the sporting world. And awesome. Again, yesterday, such a shout out to ASU Volleyball, Jelly Sear, having her on. So much fun. And yes, got a few responses, and she does have a future in broadcasting. I would work with her anytime, but I want her volleyball career to go as long as possible. Loved the interview. If you missed it, I got you covered. Again, follow me on Twitter at Diablo00. You can go back and check it out. Also, if you missed it, subscribe to the YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube. It's at MVC005. M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat, 005 on YouTube. Subscribe. All the shows are up there live. Interviews. Yes, the most recent one with Jelly Sear. A little bit later on, head coach Jason Mohns will be joining me, former head coach of Saguaro High School, the tight ends coach at ASU in his first year in that role. Again, it'll be awesome to talk to him, just again, how everything's coaching wise, the success he had at Saguaro, I'll let him, we'll talk about that, but him ending up at ASU and Coach Dillingham's staff as, the tight ends coach, and just the shift that it is, going from being in charge of a whole program to a position, and owning that, which he has done a great job of doing so far. So he will join us today. But yeah, Jelly Sear, again, absolutely awesome. The volleyball team, where are they, fans? Come on, where are they this weekend? The Mountain Schools. Yes, you know that. They are taking on Utah tomorrow and then Colorado on Sunday. And big matchups there. But again, so fun talking to Jelly, getting to know her. And hey, she is a pretty good comedian too. Her teammates have backed it up. She was upfront about it, pretty humble, but at the same time, the jokester of the group. But also, we're gonna have to get to the bottom of what she said with Coach Van Neal about I asked him about the players, but I didn't ask him about him. See, so look at that, Jelly helping me out there. Definitely so glad she could come on the show. yesterday. I did the show from Desert Financial Arena. They were practicing. No, not giving any trade secrets away. So you can give it to you. And again, yes, I was doing my show. I was paying attention, but I couldn't hear things, nor would I tell you anyway. Well, you know what I mean. I wouldn't tell people that are scouting the 18-2, 17th ranked Sun Devils, who are again on the road for the second weekend in a row. And so, yes, Utah tomorrow night. Tonight, though, fans, the Trojans are in town at women's soccer, and a win would be absolutely huge to overstate the blatant obvious there. Head coach Graham Winkworth had him on last week talking about it. They went up to Eugene, got the 2-0 win there. Coming back now, facing USC and UCLA on Sunday at noon. So come on, fans, you got to get out there. They play such I've said it a million times. Go out there. They play such a beautiful style, and defensively, again, they are sound. Their goalkeeper, Pauline Nels, coach talked about it. Her footwork just absolutely amazing. And just the way the defense plays and the physicality. Yes, they need to get the goals, but they still have outscored their opponents. And I talked to Jelly Sear yesterday about their loss to Stanford and what they took from that. She said, yes, there are things we know we need to improve and work on, but and she talked about learning the serve, like not learning the serve, but what the serve would mean to them. So that's why I asked Coach Winkworth last week, like, yeah, it's not about, a moral victory or a silver lining, but, going toe to toe with Stanford, what did that show your team? And it's one of those things where, yes, you see where you need to get better, but you also just saw you can go toe to toe with one of the top teams in the country and in your conference, first of all, but in the country, you can go toe to toe with them. Therefore, it can translate to how you play the rest of your games. So yes, that is absolutely awesome. And so, yeah, that's what soccer has. They're home this weekend. Thank goodness. Football, we know they're headed up to number 5, Washington. Now, Sun Devil fans, Sun Devil Nation, you know that the Huskies, and I talk about it here, but if you look throughout history, the Huskies have had some struggles in Tempe. And that's why they, probably wanted to help ruin the conference, the Pac-12 even more, and run to the Big Ten. So they didn't have to come to Tempe and get spanked. Well, this game is up in UW. I love what that is. Yesterday, again, we're live, so Jelly Sear was able to come up. We heard from Coach Dillingham. I'm going to play you Coach Ward's sound. I promise that. The defensive coordinator who's done a just absolutely stellar job with the defense, implementing it, the defensive line, getting pressure. It is going to be an insane chess match, fans. Absolutely insane. Look, Washington is good. That offensive line, like I said, I think Michael Penix Jr. was sacked one time last year, maybe. And this year, I think Michael Penix Jr. Let's see. Michael Penix Jr. Oh, wow. Shedeur Sanders passed him in yards after last week. Shedeur Sanders is leading the country in yards, 2,420. Michael Penix Jr. has 2,301. So that's going to be a race to the end there. But, okay, so sacks this year, right? Michael Penix Jr. has been dropped only 4 times. 4 times in 215 attempts. 215 attempts, down 4 times. The other side of that, Shedeur Sanders has 303 attempts, and he's been dropped 34 times, in which ASU had 5 of those. That being said, but like Michael Penix Jr., 72.1% of his passes completed. 20 touchdowns to just 3 picks. Shedeur Sanders right there too, 21 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. But Michael Penix Jr., yes, only sacked 4 times this season. And I can actually tell you how many times he was sacked last season. So, yeah, last year he was second. Second in the nation. Western Kentucky's Austin Reed finished with 4,744 yards. Michael Penix Jr., 4,641, over 100 yards above Caleb Williams last year. So, yeah, Michael Penix Jr. was sacked 5 times last year. So, and that's in 554 attempts last year, sacked 5 times. And then this year, just let this sink in, Sun Devil fans, because this year, so in 769 attempts, right, Michael Penix Jr. has been sacked 9 times. That is insane. That is the dominance and the chemistry, but overall the dominance the Washington offensive line has had the last 2 seasons. Yeah, 9 times in over 700, almost 770 attempts, dropping back. Insane. So that's what that's what the Sun Devils have on tap this Saturday up in Washington. The game will be on Fox Sports 1. But yeah, I mean, can this defense get there? And like I said, we will hear from defensive coordinator Brian Ward. And we will hear from him because he knows it is a huge, huge challenge. So, yeah, it'll be a huge, huge challenge. But, yes, we will hear from Coach Ward. And then later on, again, the opposite side of the ball, working on scheduling this. But Coach Mohns will be joining us. So that is absolutely awesome. Again, he's a little late out of practice, so we're shifting it around. But practice important. Again, his job very important. And again, coaching some just very, very talented tight ends. So yeah, that's the weekend. Volleyball on the road. Oh, hockey home tomorrow and Saturday. They are home again, I want to say, because I was going through it, and again, gotta get out to the good old hockey, but they are. Let's see. Yes, it's Friday. They are tomorrow night. They're home against Northern Michigan. Kid Rock fans, yeah, partying up in Northern Michigan. Anyway, Friday, 7 p.m. Mullet Arena, Northern Michigan. Saturday, 7 p.m. again. Sorry, usually they're at 5, but Saturday at 7 p.m. again, and that is the Freeze Out for Cancer. So wear pink on Saturday night when you go out to Mullet Arena, Sun Devil hockey fans. And, then they hit the road next weekend for the first time. They will be at Miami of Ohio the 27th and 28th. And then they return home the next weekend, November 3rd at 7 p.m. and November 4th, they play Stonehill. But, yeah, and you know what? They're scheduled to. They'll be home. They take on Denver University, who is very, very tough. Alaska Anchorage, who they've taken on. very challenging. Those games are all in Tempe, November 10th, 11th, and 17th and 19th. And then November 24th and 26th, they take on Providence in Tempe. Then they take on Colorado College on the road, and that's in December 1st and 2nd. And then Dartmouth comes here, Ivy League school, into town on December 8th and 9th. And then they're at Robert Morris in Pennsylvania, December 16th and 17th. So then they have the Adirondack Winter Invitational in Lake Placid, New York on the 29th and 30th of December, over break there right before New Year's. And then after the New Year, they have the Desert Hockey Classic, January 5th and 6th here in Tempe. Then they will take on Cornell in Tempe. And again, no quiz. I don't know if you remember this, but I just want to give it around, give you a little overview. But Cornell, January 12th and 13th. And then January 19th and 20th, they take on Augustana of South Dakota. All those games with Cornell and Augustana at Mullet Arena, 19th and 20th, and a little bit of a break. And then after January 20th, February 2nd and 3rd, they're in Mullet Arena, and they take on Lindenwood. And then February 9th and 10th, Alaska Fairbanks heads up this way, and they will take them on at home. And then they travel to Alaska Fairbanks February 23rd and 24th, so a nice little break there. And then March 1st and 2nd at Mullet Arena, they take on Long Island University. And March 8th to close out the regular season, they're at Alaska Anchorage, so they get to go up to Alaska March 8th and 9th, that Friday and Saturday. So, again, just overview of the schedule. And then, by the way, the NCAA regionals are March 28th through 31st. And then the NCAA Frozen Four is April 11th through 13th. So, I know it's far out, but, put it in pencil on your calendar, dot the dates for that. But for, again, Coach Powers and the hockey team. So it is, again, exciting times. But volleyball is rolling. But we're going to step aside. We're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, again, we'll jump back into football. And we will hear from defensive coordinator Brian Ward. Again, just love the way, again, this defense is coming together, the way he's put it together. His staff, Vince Amy, the defensive line coach, AJ Cooper, the linebackers coach, Coach Carrington, the defensive backs coach. And obviously Coach Regal, definitely talked to him, working with the ends also on defense, but coordinating the special teams. But man, this defense, again, especially up front, these guys are just energetic, explosive. And yes, if you get to Michael Penix Jr., make sure somebody gets a picture of it. Of course, it'll be on TV, but make sure you get a copy of that, because like I said, in the 769 attempts, this young man has only been dropped 9 times. So we'll step aside here on Pitchfork Lunch. We're going to keep rolling, take a few more bites of your lunch, digest some of the information I give you. When we get back, again, we will hear from Sun Devil defensive coordinator Brian Ward here on Pitchfork Lunch.
Audio Jungle.
All right, back here on Pitchfork Lunch. I am Michael Caratino at Diablo00 is where you can follow me on Twitter. Also, the show live on Twitter, Facebook, and yes, YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005, and subscribe. All the shows are up. If you missed the interview yesterday with Jelly Sear from Sun Devil Volleyball, again, just such a great conversation with her. Again, wanting to play in the Pac-12, you need to go back and watch the interview because I, of course, did not prompt her to say that. She said, I asked her the question. She said that all on her own. And about, who offered. And she said, the rebuilding process, where they were. With where they were in their where ASU was in the process and like what they do. And, even the difference between last year and this year, like, with Coach Van Neal, she said last year, I think that like there were spurts, but, some of the weaknesses. So their weaknesses just came too much to the forefront. And, they have a lot of strengths, but just a few weaknesses. And it seemed like, but all the players again have saying Coach Van Neal's praises and, you're 18-2, you go undefeated in non-conference play. Like I was teasing her saying, really not happy that you guys chose to be road warriors, but I think it has paid dividends. So again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. All the interviews are there at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 at MVC005 on YouTube. Subscribe. All right. Well, I did. Yes. So yesterday, out of practice, watching. Defensively, look, they're 1-5, and I've talked about it. The coaches have that passion. The coaches have the energy, and again, and people say, "Well, I would hope so." Yes, winning or losing, but you gotta turn it around. Look, they have had to deal with a lot of what Coach Dillingham talked about. I mean, obviously he's banged up. Get somebody back, somebody's out, and then lose quite a few, and then shift things around. So it's always a challenge, and it's got to be frustrating because with what they have, you feel that, and they've been competitive. I mean, the only game the offense really, to me, completely sputtered was the Fresno State game. And you could say, well, thanks, Captain Obvious, they got shut out. But it's just they never got into a rhythm. The other games, they may have not won, but they were getting into a rhythm. They're doing things. They're staying on schedule, like Coach Dillingham talks about. They're, staying ahead of the chains. But constantly losing guys, moving guys around, struggling, like Coach Dillingham has said, to run the ball. It's one of those things, and that's frustrating, but you just have to deal with it, as he says. But defensively, look, Brian Ward has been – that staff, like I said, has been just crushing it. So, yeah, I mean, it's a challenge against UW, and it'll be tough. But like Coach Dillingham said, they're really good. But without further ado, here is defensive coordinator Brian Ward for the Sun Devils from yesterday.
They're pretty good, and every week I just look at our matchups and just like where we're gonna maybe have an advantage and where we feel like we need to really exhibit our strength defensively, whether it be stopping the run, our interior D line, our edges, and everything starts up front. But I really do believe that this is the best pass protecting offensive line and really in college football, and that's why you see this quarterback just operating. And he's just a great operator, number one, because those guys know how to protect up front. And when you know that you're going to have that kind of protection on each snap, on every snap, and every time you drop back to throw the football, I think there's some crazy stat. They've been five sacks in the last 18 games or something like that. So we got a work cut out for us up front, and then the receivers. I mean, they're the most physical group of receivers that we've seen. They're probably the most well coached just overall. I mean, they run their routes and they know how to create separation even when they're covered, and and really they just don't have a weakness.
Is how well a team like that protects shape the approach to some degree of what you try to do?
Man, it all does, and then it's really, yeah, I guess, in game on game day, because you prepare for certain things and you hope certain tendencies hold up, or you're trying to search for tendencies in the game, and that's just going to help me, try to anticipate and be in the right play calls. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Then you just hope that either a matchup or your personnel or effort or technique or something like that's gonna win that rep, and then you got to move on to the next one. So these guys just, they know what they're doing, and they're this group has been working together for now 2 years consistently on a consistent basis and having a ton of productivity, and really haven't been shut down by anybody.
And then to mix it up too, I mean, I know obviously give them different looks in fronts, but I mean, in the way of blitzing too, I mean, you obviously want to do it, but I mean, what are some of the, I guess, challenges in doing that and just mixing up maybe looks and to make them think it's not a blitz and stuff like that?
Yeah, they move around, and they shift and they motion. They really do a lot of what we call tell motions. They're trying to get us to tell you what we're in, whether we're bringing pressure, whether we're in a zone coverage or a man coverage. And they really do. They don't just sit there and take shots. They move around. They try to get one guy to be a step slower or even miss an assignment, and that's where they're able to generate a lot of their explosive plays. So we got to pick and choose our times, when to bring pressure. And then, when we get a one-on-one situation, it ultimately comes down to that in football. And just if you can line up and put a body on a body, then hopefully, you make them go the long, hard way, and you get a play that's going to get them off the field.
Coach Dillingham talked about fourth down stops and takeaways are going to be some of the big keys this week. How do you accomplish those
Yeah, just to practice them, make even more of an emphasis of them. I think to win this game, we're going to have to generate some takeaways. Every week, our goal is to get 4 3 and outs. As I say, every 2 3 and outs are really equal to a takeaway because they can flip the field position. So, that's our goal every week. So our goals don't change defensively. Our points of emphasis don't change. And Washington's just another challenge for us.
Penix, you were at Washington State, so you saw Penix last year. He's growing to one of the top QBs in the country. Can that growth be based on just being another year of Kalen Moore's system, or do you think, or is there he doing something different this year than he did last year?
No, it's like anything else. We saw him the 12th game of the season last year, and they had a really good game against us, and they were very efficient. Even at the end of the year, I was probably most impressed by him just in terms of being an operator, just in his system. Just a guy that, if he reads a corner that's playing off, he's going to take the check down. If he sees a corner again, he knows he's going to take the shot. If he sees a safety leaning one way, he's going to go the other. He just totally trusts his reads. He's just very well coached. And like I said, it's a byproduct of consistent coaching, which leads to his development. And then, he has the right people around him to be able to execute. So people just don't make mistakes offensively. They don't give up. Guys don't get beat in pass protection. He very rarely misses a read, and his receiver, he knows where his receiver's going to be on every snap.
Yeah, is there anything from that game last year that kind of surprised you or may have caught you off guard that you're trying to account for this year as you game plan?
No. We were really ready for everything. It really came down to we got stressed in the second half, and we broke down. That's what happens when you're under stress, and when offenses are moving the football. It's really what team can stay most composed. And we really did, and that teams are having success on offense. That's what happens. People try to compensate for the guy next to them, and when they try to compensate, that stuff can go haywire. That's why having a certain culture and having things that you can rest on and fundamentals and principles. Guys who've been in those situations before, they grow from those situations. So hopefully we don't run into that situation inside.
You guys have been very tested on the back end and haven't given up a lot of explosives. So how are you feeling about just the readiness going into this game there?
Like I said, we just do what we do, and we prepare for what other offenses are doing. But not getting up explosives is a byproduct of, number one, having a very good pass rush. So quarterbacks can't feel like they can wait for third level routes to develop. Another thing we've been tackling. So when teams catch the football, we tackle them, and it's something we continue to work on every week. And we're not a volume based defense. We do what we do, and then we have answers to it, and hopefully, our game plan is able to make some plays for us, and then hopefully our adjustment, we can make the correct adjustments to get them off the field.
And you heard it right there, defensive coordinator Brian Ward. And look, I mean, he talked about it. Obviously, the Washington State, the Apple Cup rivalry. He was defensive coordinator at Washington State last year, and he knows what Michael Penix can do. Like I said, I mean, just think about that: 769 dropbacks and attempts, right? Dropbacks. The last two seasons, and up to this point of the season, but still, up till their last game against Oregon, 769 dropbacks, only sacked 9 times. Like that's mad. That's just insane. And I mean, only 4 times last year, or 5 times last year. What did I say? Hold on. 5 times last year, 4 times this year so far. So, I mean, again, it's one of those things where if you're Brian Ward, and again, Michael Penix can do it, but he talks about the offensive line, and he's like, Coach Dillingham alluded that and Coach Ward did as well, getting the ball out of his hands quick. Like sometimes, it's quick. And the receivers, I mean, they run just the precise routes. And Rome Odunze, I mean, when we go back to but looking at, let's go in the Pac-12 this year, Rome Odunze is tops in the conference, receiving 736 yards receiving. And Troy Franklin, who had a hell of a game last week too, and a hell of a season so far, from Oregon, he's at second, 689. Xavier Weaver from Colorado, third. Tetairoa McMillan of Arizona is fourth at 592, and then Jalen Polk, Washington, weird, at 586. So 1 and 5, both from, and Polk, I mean, and Odunze, just with their patterns, the way they run them, I mean, precise, but whether it's quick, whether it's a fade, whether, going underneath and just their concepts. I mean, Odunze, 40 catches for 736 yards, 18.4 yards per reception, kids. And he does have 6 touchdowns on the season. Jalen Polk has 32 catches, 586 yards, 18.3 per catch. So, a tenth of a yard behind Polk. Or Polk is behind Odunze, and Polk has 5 touchdowns. But let's see who's leading in receiving touchdowns. Side note in the Pac-12 real quick. Troy Franklin, Jacob Cowing, and Brendan Rice. Franklin of Oregon and Cowing of Arizona and Brendan Rice of USC all have 8 touchdowns. On the season. But yeah, I mean, yards wise, it's again, Rome Odunze, 736 yards and 40 catches, 18.4 per catch. So yeah, this young man, I mean, this team is just absolutely rocking right now. And again, it will be tough for the Sun Devils, because when you look at it, rushing wise, Damian Martinez from Oregon State, no surprise, he's up top. Jaden Ott, saw him obviously against ASU, had a chance to win there. But Jaden Ott, 602 yards on the season. But Cam Scattaboo for ASU, 93 carries for 362 yards, averaging 3.9 per carry, so getting there. 5 touchdowns rushing for Scattaboo. And Washington has Dylan Johnson's had 61 carries for 340 yards, averaging 5.6 per carry. He's got 5 rushing touchdowns as well. So again, it's a team that can run the ball. And I said last year, again, not ripping on Kalen DeBoer. He knows what he wants to do. You have a quarterback like Michael Penix Jr., but sometimes, mix it in the run for a little bit. Less is more. But, yeah, Michael Penix Jr., I mean, these receivers, it's a tall task. And you heard Brian Ward talking about it there. Like, again, it's being disciplined. It's having to – you can't be vanilla and not blitz because if and Coach Dillingham, when I played his sound yesterday, alluded to it that – and I'll play a little bit of that tomorrow too, Friday before the game. But also have Natasha Adair, women's hoops coach, coming on tomorrow. So, again, man, just – said Pitchfork Lunch. We're getting the guests, man. Get to know your coaches, get to know your players, and programs, because again, they are going that way. So, anywho, but yeah, I mean, you got to mix up the blitzes. You can't be vanilla and not blitz and just constantly play coverage because he will sit back there and pick you apart. Get a quarterback off a spot. As talented as Michael Penix Jr. is, yes, it might not affect him too crazy much with that deep receiving core. And again, Washington's receiving core going toe-to-toe with any receiving core in the country. So that is another task for the Sun Devils, pardon me. But yeah, I mean, it's, in a 45-38 victory last year, like I said in the beginning of the week, it's still there. We heard from Coach Iguano out at practice on Tuesday, just, saying that on Tuesday about, they still remember. And can it cause them to press? Look, they're going to want to play their game. And take it to ASU. But look, ASU, you've proved you can move the ball. Guys are coming back. We saw I talked to Coach Iguano about obviously having DeCarlos Brooks back on the field after the bye, after this game, after his tough injury. And, that 1-2 punch with him and Cam Scatterby, like if they're both lined up in the backfield together and, your receivers, your Elijah Badger, your Xavier Guillory, who again is just made some catches and has made some awesome catches. I mean, Elijah Badger, look, underneath, if he gets going across linebackers, good luck. Like they're not keeping up with him. Same thing for X. Like it's there. And then you have a guy like Gio Sanders is kind of floating back and forth into the backfield, and playing receiver. And it's playing receiver, but get a matchup, create mismatches. You hear him talk about that all the time. What mismatch can you create? What kind of numbers can you give yourself in favor with a play design? Or, pre-snap, they think they might have an advantage, and then boom, once it's snapped, as things shift and move, like you created that mismatch. So offensively, that's what Coach Willingham's going to be able to. Defensively, though, like I said, for Coach Ward, like you're going to have to get pressure on Michael Penix. Easier said than done. Yes, I know. Thank you. Before you hit me up on Twitter at Diablo00 saying, hey, Mr. Get Pressure. So if you can do it, no, because everybody that knows me knows I say everybody's an armchair coach. And they say, oh, this team shouldn't have beat that team. You have somebody across, in football's case, you have somebody across the field from you pretty much punching you in the mouth, trying to execute what they want to do and dictate what the game looks like across from you. So, yes, I am that person. You know that. I don't sit there and say, oh, well, this game's over, that's over, yada, yada, yada. But nonetheless, I mean, yeah, it's just one of those things where ASU defense is going to have to again, mix it up. And Coach Ward, having gone against the headache that is Michael Penix Jr. Last year, knows it. Obviously, ASU went against him as well, but again, different coaching staff. Although Coach Iguano is here, so he knows how that is too. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. But I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, Coach Mohns should be jumping in again. His schedule absolutely crazy, but I will take a quick break, and we will have Coach Mohns after this here on Pitchfork Lunch. All right, back here on Pitchfork Lunch, and just kind of waiting on Coach Mohns for a second. Like I said, a crazy schedule, and again, practice went a little bit long, but hopefully he will be jumping in here shortly. If not, again, we'll work it out. But nonetheless, real quick, like I said, soccer tonight against USC. Get out to the soccer stadium, support. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you too, because rankings wise, the rankings came out for women's soccer, and let's see where UCLA is still at number 2. They were at number 5. They went up to number 2. Sorry. So UCLA's at number 2. Got them coming to town. Stanford actually dropped to 5. USC's at 11. And Arizona State, see, told you, at 24. So number 24 versus number 11 tonight. Please go and check that out. Sun Devil Soccer Stadium at 7 p.m. But yes, they are 9-2-4. They weren't rated, they weren't ranked, and now they are number 24. So we have UCLA, Stanford, and ASU at 24. But like I said, without further ado, here he is, the tight ends coach at Arizona State. I still want to call him the head coach of Saguaro because it's been so long. Coach Mohns joining me. Coach, hey, thanks so much for taking the time. I know, obviously, you're a very busy man, but I want to start with this. You said earlier, talking earlier in the season, you go from looking over a whole program as head coach to being a position coach. Yes, you have to have the attention to detail, but and I always say to you, I know your job's not easy, and it sucks using this word, but has it been a little bit easier focusing on one group? Can you hear me, Coach? Oh, I hear you. Coach, you got me? I can hear your background. Coach, you got your mic turned on? Man. All right. Coach can't hear me. Can you hear me, Coach? Can't hear me. Okay. All right. Coach couldn't hear me. All right. We're gonna try again to see. Yeah, sounds up. Let me see. Audio. Yes, you can. All right. Yep, I got sound. So we are gonna try one more time. Hopefully, we can get Coach Mohns. Coach Mohns. Coach, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Oh, beautiful, man. That was technology, human technology. I didn't create it, but I know if I did, there'd be glitches. No, I was just saying, hey, thanks so much for taking the time real quick. I know you're busy. We talked earlier in the season. I want to start with this. Like, you go from being a head coach, obviously very successful at Saguaro, in charge of a whole program, to the tight ends. And I hate to use the word easy, like I always say to you, but is working with one group kind of a little bit easier and with that focus?
You know, there's no doubt that being able to narrow my focus and my vision eliminates a lot of distractions and hurdles and obstacles and whatever you want to call it. As a head coach, you have so many things on your plate as a head coach. I don't care if it's coaching the NFL or if you're coaching the the 7 and 8 year old Pee Wee Pop Warner team.
Right.
I mean, there's so many things on the plate of a head coach. So it's really been a breath of fresh air to be an assistant, to coach a position. The thing that I really enjoy more so than being able to have a narrow vision is really getting to know my players, and build relationships because I'm with them day in and day out with the same, 6 guys. And as a head coach, you don't have that luxury. You're dealing with the whole instead of the smaller part. And I've really enjoyed that aspect of it. And we've got great kids in our tight end room. I've really enjoyed not only coaching them on the field, but getting to know them as people off of it.
Yeah, and Camp Tonazona is a huge part to that. I mean, people that know your background, like I've been obviously lucky enough to have you tolerate me for years coming out and bugging you at Saguaro. But I mean, your dad obviously coached at ASU. Going up to Camp Tonazona, you always hear the coaches say it's huge for the players, guys on defense talking to guys on offense, vice versa, just, creating that bond. But how cool is it for you to, obviously your dad coached there, but to go up to Camp T and just like getting used to your guys, getting used to the other coaches, develop that relationship and all the benefits that Camp T has, minus the technology. I'll save you from that.
No, I think it's, two parts of that. Number one, we always tried to take at Saguaro, we always try to take our kids out of town on a camp trip, spend time together, get away from distractions. Because, as a former head coach, I understand the value of that, of just getting your guys together and spending time together and really spending time off the field together, right, is where you really get to know each other and you really get to build those meaningful relationships. So when the real bullets are flying, that you got the guys back next to you and he's got yours because you've spent that quality time together. So, first and foremost, the value of going to a camp like that. And then secondly, for me and the history of Camp T with my family and my dad coaching with Coach Cush, that was really special for me because I understand from the stories that my dad used to tell me what that place has always meant to this program. And so, I couldn't help. We hiked as a team up Mount Cush. I think it was our 3rd day that we were there. And I couldn't help but think that, my dad hiked the same mountain, so many years ago with his team. And that's what makes, number one, this opportunity for me special. But then more importantly, now that I'm in it, doing those things and carrying those traditions. And I think Coach Dillingham has done a great job of embracing the tradition of Arizona State University. And I'm really proud to be a part of that.
Before I get to more football stuff, to piggyback off that, like you're thinking like your dad went there. And as a coach, like we all understand the higher, and you said, no matter what you're coaching, you're always taking time away from your own family to be the best at what you do. But to have obviously your wife and kids and like them be up there to share that with them. I know you guys are focused on what you're doing, but when you kind of step back, how cool is it to share it, with your son and daughter? Because most importantly, you share donuts with them, which I'm a big fan of, as you know. You and I always can have that conversation about sweets, but how cool is it to share it with them and then to see that tradition and be around, like you said, the tight ends you work with, but just be around the team in that atmosphere?
Yeah. I mean, if I couldn't include my family in this journey, it wouldn't be worth it. I mean, first and foremost, I'm always going to make my family my number one priority. And so, the fact that I'm in a situation where I can make this jump from a career standpoint and have this new challenge and as a competitor, you always you want to test your abilities against the best of the best. And so it's been a phenomenal opportunity for me, but to do it in our backyard, and our home, like we will always consider Arizona home. And we've got our family here. My kids didn't have to switch schools. So for us to be able to make that move and do it at home, and then for them to be able to be included in things like Camp Tonazona and be included in the Devil Walk every home game, and, to be able to come have family dinners and go out and run around and play catch after dinner around the Tillman statue, that's what makes this opportunity so special. And I'm grateful to Coach Dillingham because family is important to him, and he's allowed us to have our family be a part of this process and this journey. And so it's awesome. I was definitely concerned. My daughter Kendall grew up on the sidelines of Saguaro High School. She's pretty much the princess of Saguaro High School. And when I first let her know that I was going to make this move, she was on board, but she was a little hesitant. And early on, she was like, yeah, ASU is cool, but, Saguaro's pretty great. And if this doesn't all work out, we go back to Saguaro. And I think the last time Saguaro gave me an award a couple weeks ago, it was awesome. And I took Kendall and Baker, my kids, with me, and we were there. And afterwards we went to dinner, just the three of us, because my wife had some prior plans. And I was talking to Kendall, and Baker was all in from the first minute he stepped foot on campus. He was all ASU, all Sun Devil. But Kendall was taking her time, and we went to dinner. I said, being back at Saguaro, did it make you miss that? Do you wish we were still there? Are you happy at ASU? She goes, no, Daddy, I love ASU. I want to stay Sun Devil. So she's in now. She's switched her allegiance. We'll always bleed black and gold. We'll always be SaberCats, but we're all in on this journey at ASU now.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm smiling and laughing because, of course, the son's like, yeah, Dad, this is great. Let's go. Like, don't think about anything.
He walked down the hallway that has all the big buffed up mannequins with all the different jerseys on. And the minute he saw that, he was like, oh, yeah, this is sweet. We didn't have anything like this at Saguaro.
Yeah. Way to go, Dad. Couldn't do it. So, yeah, because it's really cheap. No, but, and when you talk about that, obviously the tight end group, I mean, I gotta get to this real quick, but like, you inherit somebody like a Jalen Conyers. Obviously, Bryce Pierre came back. And I've always said throughout the years knowing you, it's not just to pat your back. I joke around. I'm like, the times I've talked to Coach Mohns after his like third or fourth championship, I kept asking him, like, when's he going to college? I wasn't trying to get rid of you. And I know you didn't I hope you didn't take it that way. But now that you're there, you're working with these tight ends. To me, the one thing you've always had with your teams is growth. Because like you said, I mean, it's a program. Yes, you had players that were leaders at Saguaro, and they took that mantle, but you set a standard and they kept building on it. To watch your tight ends improve, because yes, like I said, you inherit a guy like Jalen Conyers, who was always looking to improve. I'm not saying he's not, but to see your group grow, and yeah, it's been a tough season. Yes, unfortunately, there's been injuries, but the growth of your group, the no quit. I know obviously you're in it, so you don't get to truly reflect on it, but how much have they taught you about, maybe your coaching style and what you've done and what you've meant to them, the same effect that, you've meant to them in your eyes? Like, what have they done for you as a coach?
Well, I think first for me, it was the first time, I remember even going back to like my first meeting with the position group and our first winter kind of walkthrough type practice on the field, and really more specifically, like our first real live spring ball practice. It was the first time in a long time that I had butterflies going out to a practice. And that's what I was looking for. I never wanted to get to a point in my career where I felt like I was in cruise control. And there are some cool things that happened along the way in Arizona high school football with the open division and some things like that put some new challenges on my plate that kept me engaged, kept me motivated. But I just never wanted to get to a point in my career where I felt like I was getting stale. And so, taking this jump, that was what I was most excited about is having new challenges and having to grow and improve as a coach. I think I've always had that mindset of trying to, progressively get to be a better coach and learn more and give my players the best tools to be successful. So, from that standpoint, I wanted to make sure I was giving them everything I had. We had a short break during the winter. We had a few days off, and I used one of the connections I have to go fly out to Indianapolis during the combine and connect with the tight ends coach of the Giants, and spent 3 days out there watching film for 4 or 5 hours a day. And he was so gracious to give me his time, but just to learn the tight end position. I'd gone from, coordinating the offense and really coaching the quarterbacks and kind of running the whole program to now coaching a position that I'm very familiar with, but I hadn't coached the fine details, in individual drills. And I wanted to make sure I was giving those guys the tools. So I think just showing my guys that I'm going to be a student of the game, and I'm going to fight and grind to get better as a coach so I can give them all the tools that they need. And then I think for me, what they gave back to me is they accepted me right away. I think it helped that we had guys on the team that had played for me that I think behind the scenes, and I didn't ask them to, but I'm pretty sure that they vouched for me and they were like, hey, you guys are going to love Coach Mohns. He's a great coach. And I felt like that word got to my guys because they were very open. I didn't have any pushback or any hesitancy to allow me to come in and coach them. And I think the one thing, it's one of the things that I'm the most proud of is, Jalen Conyers runs this podcast, and he had an episode where he had all the tight ends on, and they just authentically started talking about how things were going. And Jalen mentioned, kind of brought me up and asked them what they thought about me. And to a man, they all said, he's just a great teacher, and that's what they had really embraced from me, is that my knowledge of the game and my ability, doesn't matter how much I know, but it's what I can translate and teach. And That's something I've always prided myself on. I think that's the background of a high school football coach, is you have to learn how to teach and develop. And so that's something that I'm always going to pride myself in. And I'm it makes me proud that those guys responded to that. And then the reality is, at the end of spring ball, we had guys that were graduates that could have grad transferred anywhere in the country if they wanted to. And they stayed with us, and because they believe in Coach Dillingham and what he's building, they believe in me and my ability to develop them and get them to the next level. And so that was a small victory early on. And now we're in the fight. Like you mentioned, we've faced some extreme adversity up to this point in the season, but I can tell you our tight end room has never once turned our backs on each other or on the team. We're continuing to fight to get better. We're allowing ourselves to be held accountable, and that's players and coaches, and continuing to fight to find ways to get better. And that includes myself as well. And so that's where we're at right now. We got guys that care about this program, that believe in the direction we're going, and we're fighting like hell to keep getting better as individuals and as a team to get to where we know we're capable of getting.
Well, Coach, that's why I started this show, Pitchfork Lunch, because I've been a homer for years, as you know. I mean, I know you've had players that have talked to that school down south, and I'm so glad you're coaching here, because your other coaching counterpart, Coach Regal, I told him, like, I can talk to you while you're down there. I cannot say anything nice about where you're at. But no, I look at it that way too. And, when you say the tight ends, and just in talking to them, because it's one thing about having a program and the attention to detail that I said that you obviously have as a head coach and head coaches have, but how can you communicate it? How can you teach it? And your tight ends, even in talking to them, like you said, like, I mean, the great teacher, like, he just communicates it. Not that they don't understand it, but you as a coach and teacher know, like, everybody learns in a different way. And to me, that, like, the fact, yes, that they stayed, but the fact that they see it and you're letting them grow is the utmost compliment. So, hey, man, good luck traveling up to UW. Again, thank you so much for taking the time. And I lost him. Okay, Coach Mohns froze, but that's okay. He's got an appointment to get to anyway, but he froze and then unfortunately dropped. But hey, you know what? Internet technology, it happens. But that was Jason Mohns. Again, like I said, working hard with the tight ends. You can see it. I mean, Jalen Conyers came in as a well-known tight end. Bryce Pierre has developed. Messiah Swinson, who's been here, who transferred and came in when obviously Herm Edwards and his staff was here. I mean, the way he's grown too, not because, he was mainly a blocker. Came here, and again, getting him out in patterns. I mean, 6'6", 6'7", like, getting those guys out there. Bryce Pierre, the way they develop. So it is the utmost compliment. Always love catching up with Coach Mohns. At least technology lasted for most of the interview. So that's for all the interview, I should say, for all the interview. But I'm going to get out of here. Again, same bat time, same bat channel. Tomorrow we'll have Coach Adair on 12:15. So Natasha Adair, the women's head basketball coach, and we'll talk about, obviously last year, it unfortunately was a struggle because, knock on wood, they got stuck with quite a few injuries, but they battled, and they are working hard right now, preseason and battling as well. So, again, I want to thank Coach Mohns for coming on. You guys for watching. Again, go to my YouTube. It's at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat, 005. Subscribe. You have it all there. So I'm going to get out of here. Everybody have a great rest of your Thursday. Get out to Sun Devil Soccer Stadium, 7 p.m. The Trojans are here. So I am out. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll break down the soccer game tomorrow, talk to Coach Adair, and talk a little bit volleyball and football. So have a great rest of your Thursday. And as always, Sun Devil Nation, you know it. Forks up.
Terry's three. Johnny Walker matching up against control. His shot. Bruce score. They score. They tie the game up 2-2. Recent drives out for Robbie Ryan. Her three right on the money. This is Taya Hansen for three. Other side of the rim with a pretty reverse. Wow. 5 seconds to go. Find Hawk. Hawk spins. It rolls on. And Arizona State wins it. Edwards pulls off. And buries the puck. Daniels makes the shot.